I looked at 237 side hustles and gig jobs to make this episode, and I have to say, I was quite surprised by what I found out. Welcome back to Wheels, Winchesters, and Weebs. This is a bit of a different episode than I typically make, but after talking with some of my friends on my college campus and thinking about it a little bit more, I couldn't help but make an episode on this. I don't know why I was just so drawn to it, but I couldn't put it down. So here goes nothing. 2024 seems to be the era of entrepreneurs, and everyone on earth is looking for ways to improve their financial situation without taking on a second job, or a third job, or a fourth job. With consumer sentiment rising, higher prices, and more jobs going remote, and companies experimenting with shorter work weeks, it makes sense why people all over are starting to look for ways to replace their 9-to-5 income or supplement it in some way. Louisa Zhao, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, mentioned in one of her blogs that 1 in 3 Americans has a side gig of some kind now in 2024. I'm very pro side hustle. It's a great way for people with an entrepreneurial vision and a high risk tolerance to make some extra cash and possibly build a profitable business to replace what they're doing now. There are thousands of ways to make extra money in 2024. However, every influencer, YouTuber, and article that I've ever read seems to ignore the highest sunk cost of any side hustle: time. Time is the one and only resource on earth that you can't make more of, and many side hustles have a massive time sink to be profitable. This is such a big deal because, at least in the US, people have less and less free time on average. Now, I enjoy chasing success and money more than most people, and I've tried tons of side hustles and gig work over the past 5 years. And with each one that I've tried, there's been a serious time sink before I made any money at all. So that brought me to this question here. If you're a student, if you have children, if you have a hard job, what can you do to make extra money when you're short on time? After a lot of research, I've come up with a list of 5 ways to make some extra money with as little time investment as possible. And be sure to stick around for the end of this episode, because I've added 2 extra tips, one other way to make extra money, and another for supercharging your financial success. So, without further ado, let's get started. The first one that I have on this list has the lowest payout of anything that I've ever tried, or found for that matter, and it's getting paid for your opinion. I've tried this for a year back in 2019 when I was in school, and I have mixed feelings about it. This one you'll see on every money hacking article and blog on the internet. Services like Rakuten, Survey Junkie, Swagbucks, and others will pay you a couple of cents for answering anywhere from 10 to 30 questions about products, your purchasing preferences, other marketing topics, etc. This is actually surprisingly good for students and really busy parents, because you can be compensated in as little as 10-ish minutes depending on what tool you use and what survey you end up taking. Like I said, I have mixed feelings about this one because it requires almost no time and it's incredibly easy, but the payoffs are mediocre at best. A lot of survey sites, I used only compensated surveys with gift cards, e-gift cards, and discounts to stores in your local area, which required tons of surveys to earn, and on at least one of the mobile survey apps I used, there were very few surveys to take at all. This really limits your earning potential if you're trying to use this as a side hustle. If you're only making a couple of cents on every single survey that you do, and it requires, I don't know, $50 worth of cents to actually earn a gift card or some kind of reward, that is a massive time sink, so that's something to be careful about. Doing product testing and consumer surveys through places like Product Testing USA or L'Oreal Product Testing can help you yield a higher payout according to Forbes magazine. I haven't tried this myself, but that's another great way to get compensated for your opinions as a consumer. In summary, I think this is a great way to make a little bit of extra spending money, depending on, again, what platform you use if you're short on time. It requires very little time investment and it can pay well depending on what product testing job you choose. The biggest drawback, like I said, from this side hustle category is the low payout level. This is partially because there's no barriers to entry. anyone and their dog can do it, so they're not going to pay very much. And because of the massive amount of people who want to do this, it makes it harder to get the better paying ones since they're a little more selective. Moving on to the next one, I'm going to be honest, this group of gigs and side hustles is the hardest I have ever worked for $100, and I've poured concrete in the summer heat before as a job. That being said, it can be a great way to build extra cash quickly, especially if you're smart, and that is rideshare and delivery services. These are a great way to get paid when you're short on time because you can make money in as little as 1 hour. In this category, I've thrown in stuff like DoorDash, Uber, Postmates, Lyft, and I'm even going to throw Amazon Flex in this category, even though it's a little bit more of a stabilized job. How much you can make in an hour can vary depending on which platform you choose to earn with and your skills, but it can be incredibly profitable. When I worked for Flex, I could make as much as $30 an hour if I was quick and took last minute routes that needed to go out and didn't have any drivers. And my brother who did it with me made even more money from doing it because he was better at playing the system than I was. There are a few downsides to the set of gig jobs. First off, you need proof of insurance and driving abilities for a lot of these rideshare and delivery gigs. Many companies also ask for things like a personal tax information, social security number, and driver license number to verify your identity. On these platforms, you are an independent contractor, which at least in the US means that you are responsible for your own income expense and deductions for doing this job. The last drawback, honestly, for me was just the hidden costs. Like I said, I could make up to $30 an hour, but things like fuel, excess wear on your car, and tolls, depending on where you live, can really take a serious pull down on your earnings. Wrapping it all together, this is a great way to make some extra cash, especially if you know your area really well and can get around it really quickly. You make more money from being fast and efficient, which is perfect for people who love the hustle like I do. However, you do have to track your own expenses with this one, and that can be kind of a bummer for some people, especially if you don't do it right. It can ding you at the end of the year. It has higher barriers to entry as well, and it's more physically taxing, especially if you do something like Amazon Flex. A little extra tip with this one, I found this one really helpful, was use a miles tracker if you're going to do this. It will track your mileage and work-related deductions for you while you're out delivering or driving. Oftentimes, when I was using one of these apps, I was using Strides, I made way more money back in deductions than I paid in tax for a day's work, which sweetens the deal a little bit more. This next one, the time requirement depends largely on how you choose to spend your time and what tools you use, and that is digital design. Depending on what you make, you can make a serious amount of money with this one. Like rideshare before, earnings vary based on what you do. There are mainly two ways I've seen this play out where you can make a lot of money. The first one has an infamous nickname for anyone who's worked in this industry before, and that is making your deal with the devil. In this first method, you make several things, several design products beforehand, whether it's digital prints, marketing material, etc., and then market your services on Fiverr or Upwork or other platforms. Skillshare is another good example of this. Your earnings in this method depends on how well you do at marketing on your gigs, also how well you are at marketing yourself as a creator, and what niche you fall into. I've never tried this before successfully, but I've heard it can be brutal. Freelancers often have to deal with new businesses and clients with tons of demands and a low budget, which is why they went to a freelancer in the first place, hoping they could get a cheaper deal than hiring someone outright to do what they're asking. It does have a big upside. I've seen earnings as high as $100 an hour for this method. And you can earn much quicker through this method than method 2. So it's up to you whether that shorter time frame is worth, like I said, making a deal with the devil. Method 2 is one that I'm actually dabbling with a little bit right now, and I'm going to try to roll out more in the future. It's going to be one of my next projects, actually, which is digital product creation and retail. I'm generalizing here, but basically this is where you set up a shop on something like Etsy, Shopify, Teespring, or you could even market these through Facebook Marketplace if you wanted, and make products to sell. This can be extremely satisfying if you're a creative type. It gives you a lot more freedom, and if you don't mind doing the little extra marketing legwork that something like Upwork would normally provide for you, it can be very profitable. Like I said, I haven't had a ton of success with this one, but based on the research that I've done, digital products can make upwards of $1,000 a month in revenue from a good product line. And that is the key thing right there, making a good product line. This method is going to take more time investment since you'll have to market yourself through social media, trade shows, or local markets. Also, you do need to do some serious research to make sure that the product line that you're looking for is good and is going to be a cash cow. The upside of this is obviously the huge payout if you have a quality product. Normally, this wouldn't be on my list. This digital design can take a lot of time and it can be really taxing. However, I added it because of the massive amount of innovation in this space, which has been slashing the amount of time it takes over the last couple of years to create digital products. With tools like Canva, Pixabay, Adobe Rush, and others, you can make a killer product and turn around and market it really fast for quick returns. Also, AI is your best friend in this case. Tools like ChatGPT, Gamma, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, they can all create decent content for you with a little bit of tweaking on your end. All of these tools will only make it easier to create digital content into the future. I can see a lot of growth happening with this one. Let's take a 3,000-foot look at this and back it up a little bit. Digital design does take more time investment than the previous things I've brought up. It takes some time to build a product backlog. It takes time to market, but again, it has a huge upside if you're good. Innovation is slashing the time it takes to do these things, so that is something you can look forward to. And if you're really good about picking tools, sometimes you don't have to do much work at all. Good old arbitrage is the next one I wanted to bring up. This one's super common in the influencer space. Nearly every side hustle and grind set guru I've seen online talks about this, or has at least done arbitrage in some form, which, for those who don't know, is basically buying something, some kind of inventory for cheap and selling it for more than you bought it for. This one fascinates me a lot because once you're set up, it requires almost no time investment at all. The setup time and market research is where you're going to get dinged when it comes to time spent on this one. I'm going to focus on flipping in this video because it requires very little product time. The actually selling part of this process is on autopilot. Using Facebook listings and online stores can take away a lot of the grueling work of finding clients who want what you have to sell. The time investment here is acquiring the inventory that you're going to sell and flip in the first place. Houses, furnitures, and cars are going to take a significant amount of time to get in the right condition to sell. But on the other side, you can pick up something like an Amazon return pallet and list everything on Facebook within a few hours. It's not that simple, and you definitely have to you'll find a massive variation in payoffs for each flipping category, but that is the time range we're playing with, anywhere from a year to a couple hours depending on what you're doing. There is massive potential in here if you plan carefully and pick the right products. I had some people close to me make some decent money selling these Amazon return pallets, and I think there's still a ton of money in that space retailing these return products. However, costs can add up quickly for this set of side hustles. Things like shipping, marketing dollars that you have to spend, and storage fees, depending on what you choose, can really eat into your profits quickly. Also, at least in the case of the return pallets, like I mentioned earlier, these return pallets are sold from Amazon at auction, so you need to make sure that you're not spending more than you're going to make from the actual items that you're selling. I don't have time to explain this here, but choosing the right product can make or break you, but it can also make you a small fortune if you are careful with your choices. Overall, I like this one, and it's good if you're short on time. Even if it's just flipping clothes on Poshmark, you can make a pretty sizable small profit if you're okay spending a couple hours a week buying at thrift stores and researching what it's worth. Just remember that you need to track your costs and know what you're buying to be the most successful at this. This one's going to be daunting for some people, and I can see that now. It's daunting for me, and it's because at a basic level, you need to have some marketable skills that you can teach to someone else to be successful in the online coaching space. And that raises the same question in everyone's mind whenever it's brought up, whenever I bring it up anything to anyone, which is, what skills do I have? I hear this question a lot. I've asked myself this question a lot as well. It's easy to see why people, especially college students like me or younger working professionals, would feel like they don't have skills they can actually market. I'm going to throw you a lifeline on this one, because you know more than you think you do. Answer this question for me. Where in your life have you spent at least 100 hours in deep study and practice? I'm going to put a pin in that. That number is very important, because you don't have to start out as an expert to teach an online course. All you need is competency. And those numbers get thrown around a lot on what makes someone competent at a certain set of marketable skills. But newer research that's coming out, taking a pin off that board now for that number, suggests all you need is 100 hours of deep study and practice to be competent. It takes a lot more time to explain why that's the case, but the point is 100 hours is enough. And that's the biggest time investment. Once you have competency, the rest is really light work. Kind of like the digital design, this would not have been on my list at all before, but after all the research and digging I've been doing, preparing for this, I found out something crazy. Sites like CourseBox AI and other ones out there will build you your online course suite for you as long as you have the content to feed it. This slashes the time sink you run into with content creation. I've been building social media content and videos since 2019, and it is a massive time eater. Coaching is no different. You still have to make very similar content, and then you add that to building a website and marketing your course, and this massive time investment appears. But these kind of innovations are making things so much faster. Now all you have to do is pay a small monthly fee, and CourseBox AI or other services will make it for you. You just have to provide the content in the background, and they'll develop everything else. There's a massive payout to this one. I have heard numbers thrown around from a couple $100 a month to $50,000 a month or more, depending on how many people take your course. It is important to remember that with this side hustle, it will take more time than the previous ones, and it will have a higher cost than something like flipping return pallets. But again, the payouts are insane. You just have to decide if that's something that you're worth taking the time and investment on. As we close out here, I wanted to share a couple of things. First off, this is my opinion. I have done a lot of research on this, but I invite all of you, if you're interested, to go dig into one of these and think about it some more. See if one of these is something that is going to be a good fit for you. Also, this is just my list. There are other fairly low time investment side hustles you can do, like dog sitting, but these 5 are the ones that I felt that were the most time consistent. I will be listing a source document on our website and in the episode details. You can find that here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen, or at Wheels, Winchesters, and Weebs podcast.webflow.io. If you want to look at the rest of them, one I couldn't add here, but makes me laugh every time, is rentafriend.com, where you can offer your services as a friend for hire. It's crazy, but it's a real thing. That sounds really sketchy to me, but it's something people are willing to pay for because the website exists. Also, marketing your side hustle and what tools you use will change how much money and time it takes to do any of these, irregardless of what you choose. For example, you can offer digital design services outside of a platform like Fiverr, but it means you'll spend a lot more time marketing your skills to clients one by one, which makes this less effective because it brings your earnings per hour down. It's just something to think about. Like I said, I'm very confident people could do this without the extra innovation. It just depends on how much time you have. Alrighty, like I said in the opener, I wanted to leave you with some extra bonuses for sticking around to the end, and this one that I'm going to start with is another way to make some extra cash when you're short on time. I know it's not sexy, but this really is one of the quickest ways to make some extra cash if you have a job that pays you per hour. Putting in a little extra time can reap you some decent benefits. Let's say you're making $15 an hour, which, based on research I've been doing recently for economic analysis in the United States, seems low, but we'll say 15 just for ease of argument. And you have 10 hours per week of free time after everything else is done. If you take 5 hours of that to work a little bit extra, you've made $75. I'm not telling you you're lazy or just not working hard enough or anything like that, because I don't believe that. All I'm saying is that working a few extra hours can add more money into your pocket. Not to mention it has tons of additional non-cash benefits towards your future earning potential. Going the extra mile still counts for something in 2024, despite what you'll hear on TikTok and Reddit, assuming your boss is actually paying attention. It can put you in the running for promotions or pay raises, and it can make a great bargaining chip to keep in your back pocket in the future. It also makes great leverage in negotiation if you ever want to move up in the work hierarchy, and looks good on a resume for switching roles. Now, if you're looking to radically shift your net worth and really take control of your time, and you're willing to be a little bit patient, the last tip is the best way I have ever seen for making serious money, bar none. And that tip is find a service that solves a problem and charge for it. Now, some of you might be saying, well, no, duh, but hear me out for just a second. Look at every insanely successful person in your life. I bet you most of them made it by solving problems out in the world that desperately needed solving. A good example I learned about not too long ago was in 2008, 3 former college roommates saw that it was hard to get a hotel room in a saturated hotel market in LA, so they started to rent out an air mattress in an air mattress and breakfast deal out of their apartment in a spare room. That company that they built off of that is now called Airbnb. The last time I checked the valuation, the company is now worth $102 billion. Not only that, but my own brother is seeing this happen to him in real time just this year. He found a card game that had an extremely short print cycle but tons of demand, which naturally led to speculators buying up as many cards as they could get their hands on and selling them at insane markups online. This happens all the time. Ugg Tasman's was a great example a year or so ago. My brother realized that by setting up a subscription plan and by buying cards in bulk, he could raffle off the cards themselves for free to paid subscribers and get more people into the game and still make enough money to buy the cards. He put his plan into action not too long ago and got 15 monthly subscribers in the first 2 weeks of trying this business idea out. That business, I'm actually going to call it a business because it will be someday if he keeps doing what he's doing, is called SWU Cantina. I'm going to throw all his socials down here in the episode description. Go check him out, and at the very least, even if you're not interested in the card game, hopefully it gives you a sense of inspiration on what you can do. The point is, wrapping this all back around, is the best way to make money in 2024 is to find a problem that you can solve which adds value to the wider market. That's the key. If you do that, there will be customers who will buy it. I want to give this topic some more time in another episode, but the point is, that's how major wealth is made. If this is something you want to learn more about, please let me know. I'll be happy to dig deep into it and explain why and some examples of what you can do and how to do this. But it's something to think about. I'm going to be honest, this will take a lot more time, since you have to research and try a couple things before you make any money in it at all. But if you provide the right solution to the right problem, it can change the course of your life and the life of everyone around you forever. That wraps up this episode on how to make extra money when you're short on time. This episode was honestly the most fun I've ever had researching for any podcast episode I've ever done, and I can't wait to see how it will help you in your finance journey. This is also the first attempt I've ever that I've made at making a podcast on something in the self-help, self-improvement sphere, and I loved every second of it. If you like this today, and it helped point you towards your next financial goal or your next side hustle, then please show the episode some love by sharing it with your friends and following us wherever you happen to find this. Like I said, just getting started, and this could honestly change the way that this podcast goes, but more than anything, I hope this helps. Thank you all, and I will see you in the next one. Bye now.